Hi everybody, my name is Thorsten Schmidt and welcome back on the NMS Prime channel. Today we want to speak about version 2.5. Just 2 days, I guess, before Christmas, or 1 day, I'm not quite sure, we released version 2.5. It was one of the biggest releases that we've made in our entire history. More than 1 year of development between the last major version, which was 2.4, and it was released in about October of 2018, I guess. And now I'm very happy that we finished version 2.5. And like I said, a very important release. There are more than 1,700 commits in between 2.4 and 2.5. And more than 900 files are changed and a lot of command lines or insertions and deletions between these two major releases. So I would like to welcome Nino from our development team and also Ole. And why was version 2.5 this important for NMS Prime?
Well, from my point of view, FTTH was certainly the most important thing I was working on. We saw a lot of customers lately who all asked us for FTTH provisioning. As you know, we come from the cable modem, from the DOCSIS back then, but now we see that people are moving over to new technologies, and we also want to provision this. And so in order to do this, we implemented FreeRADIUS in order to do PPPoE, and we also did Tier 69 implementation. And so all of this together, I think, was the most important stuff from my point of view.
Yeah, thank you. And
yeah, well, in total, we just implemented a lot of new features that are really important for our customers, not only the international customers that need FTTH, or also German customers need FTTH, but especially for the German customers, we implemented the property management module and the Overdue Dept module. And now it's possible to manage your buildings or realties within NMS Prime, and to manage outstanding payments that need to be paid by the end customers.
yeah, thank you. And I guess there have been also a lot of other changes. Maybe can you talk a little bit about them? What do you think was also very important? Or should we just head over to our release note page? Or maybe you can give a short comment on that.
I think one which stuck to my mind was we are always having some issues, especially with more modems coming up. To be able to monitor them all within time, because we always monitor modems within 5 minutes. And we had some issues, especially with more than 5,000, 10,000 modems. We had some issues that we actually were able to do this within 5 minutes. And so what we did was actually writing our own daemon now, which is running, which is implemented in C, and which is much more efficient as compared to the PHP implementation we had before. And so whereas before we needed to use 50 or 80 processes running at the same time and taking a lot of resources, now we only have one C program running, and much quicker. We are usually done after 1 minute with all the monitoring, so we can scale quite nicely, I think, for the future.
Yeah, this is definitely a really good improvement, and it's also way more reliable. We had some outages, not outages, I mean the diagrams weren't really aufgezeichnet.
Yeah, this correctly recorded or reliable.
Were reliably recorded.
For large networks.
Yeah,
cool. And maybe one thing that you had in mind, which was also this is not the only performance improvement. Actually, there are some
especially for the GUI, some page loads that are way more quick or faster. And yeah, what else happened?
Also the dashboard.
That was what I want to say. That what
yeah.
also in my mind was that we introduced several dashboards for each module, and that we had a new dashboard on the main page. So maybe I can just head over this, and I guess also the all update section where you see the last changes inside the network was new in version 2.5. I think this is a cool feature, especially to show the engagement of your team working with the system, and that you can see what changes have been made within the last time frame. And I think this is also quite cool. And like I said, we also have for each separate page a new dashboard.
And now you can even configure for every user which dashboard should be presented when he's logging in. For example, the guys from the technical guys outside, they don't necessarily need to see all the financial stuff and so on. And that's why you can really focus on what you want in the very first click.
Yeah. And then maybe also one thing which I think is also important, more to the development guys. I talked to Christian just before we recorded the video, is that we upgraded to Laravel version 5.5. And the cool thing about this is that this is a long time support version, I guess until August 2020. And this brings a lot of new support for developers. So a lot of more development functions are inside it than before. We were at version 5.3, I guess. And there are better third-party support for all the stuff, and this will support us until the end of the year. Yes, maybe I think we will, or not I think we will link the release notes under this video. And now I just want to jump a little bit more into detail about the 2 or 3 major topics that we were talking about. So I would like to begin with Nino, and maybe can you give me a little bit more introduction or a more overview about what the property management is about. So maybe we can also jump into our demo system, and I guess here we see.
Yeah, like you see on the left menu list, you can add a lot of new things like nodes, realties, apartments, and contacts. Realties actually are just the buildings where you can include apartments. We actually added 2 buildings with an address, and you could just go into Dörnichtweg. And like you see on the right side, it's structured like everything else in MS Prime. You have the relations here, the apartments. You can add unlimited apartments here, and you have a quick view of all the contracts that are related via the apartment and their modems. You can assign modems or contracts to the apartment. It's important, and it's an or. You cannot add modems and contracts because if there is a modem assigned to the contract, there's already a contract related to the modem, and so it's directly related to the apartment. Let's go back to the realty itself. You can assign contacts like administrations or local contacts. We've not added one here right now. And the cool thing about the property management module is actually the cutoff list. There will be, I guess there will be no entry right now. This includes all apartments that have cancelled contracts, and if there's no new contract, but the apartment is still connected. You generally have to send a technician and cut off the apartment in case there is a new inhabitant, which will just use your service for free. It's better to cut off the apartment, and here you all have a list of all the apartments where you have to send one in a nice overview.
Maybe some general questions. So the main usage for the property management will be that if I were an ISP, I will add my houses or my apartments, my realties, and then I have a better overview about what is connected to my network, and then I can assign to each apartment or to each house which contracts or which cable modems are in it, and so I get a better understanding of how my network is used or how the apartments are use it, and I get a better overview. Is it correctly from?
Yeah, that's one point. And the second point is the management of the apartments and the connection. What connection type do you have in it? And some more informations that you cannot insert into the contract right now, only in the description part. But this is really cumbersome. If you have a lot of informations that you want to insert. So this is where you just paste that information that you need also for the TV parts and so on.
Okay. And I think within one of the next releases, also I guess within one of the minor releases, there will be also some kind of document management, so where you can easy upload PDFs and maybe documentation about how the house or the apartment is connected, or to have a better overview and link documents.
Yeah, also if you have some special contracts with an administration or something else, you can upload that.
Can manage.
Yeah,
I think that's a cool overview for the module. There will be another video where we want to jump really into detail about property management. But for the release notes, I guess we've got a good overview. Thank you. Maybe we jump towards our FTTH implementation and about the topics which were addressed within the release 2.5. Yes, so what was the major challenge for implementing FTTH? So I think it was more than half of a year which took us this implementation. And a lot of things happened inside of it. So.
Yeah, it's two major things we had to do. First off was the provisioning of the speed, and secondly, the provisioning of the CPE of the device and device itself. And so when it comes to the speed provisioning, some of our customers do it via the switches. They know, okay, our customers are connected to this and this port of the switch. And so we know what the speed should be assigned to these ports. But we figured this is too cumbersome, especially if you have a lot of customers who switch maybe locations, or there are a lot of customers coming and going. You always have to know which switch do you need to go, and where is who connected to. And so we said, okay, we don't do this at all via the switches. We do this with different protocol, and this is PPPoE, which is already known in the DSL world quite a lot. And so what we came up with was that we set up a radius server on our NMS Prime instance, and we also have a router in the back end. So this router is basically terminating, or is doing a session between a CPE and the router, and the router is actually limiting the speed of the device. And we do it in this way that we have our tariffs already in our database, which will be synchronized with our FreeRADIUS database. And so if we set up a new customer or a new CPE, we set up a new username and a password. And using this two credentials or information, we can identify the customer. And then once they are identified, we tell the router what speed is provisioned, and the router will then automatically limit the speed of the customer. So this is the first step and we actually can see this.
Maybe just one comment about this. I guess this solution was introduced, or we came to the solution at our last conference. So it was in May 2019, I guess. And we had a workshop about FTTH implementation, and the solution that we came up with in this workshop was the PPPoE usage to avoid, like you said, to have the direct connection information between the OLT and the ONU.
Yeah, so we had quite a diverse community there. People had different opinion. And the cool thing was at some point after the workshop, we all agreed, or we all came to one conclusion. And this is really the cool thing about the conference, that we all come together and try to work on one solution, then hopefully finally agree on one.
Yeah.
This is exactly what you said.
Yeah, and this is some kind or some of the tricks how we achieve vendor and technology independent or agnostic provisioning, just by that we say the speed provisioning will be done by a BNG or a BERAS. Shouldn't we have a look to our to this document, or do you want to
sure. Sure. I mean, it's basically what we did so far is we are able to do provision active Ethernet connections. So once you have a connection between the CPE and the head end via Ethernet, we can do it right away. So what you can see is, so basically this is what we can do so far. So we have a CPE connected to a BNG, and they are having a PPPoE session between them. And as I said, if the customer logs in, he's providing its credentials. They will be forwarded to the radio server. The radio server is actually fed. The information of NMS Prime is fed into the radio server. And then once the customer has been authorized correctly, then we will both send the BNG the IP address and speed. And so then the customer is online. The thing is, only with this, we are only able to provision the speed. But so far, for example, if the user has a telephony or something like this, we wouldn't be able to provision this. And so this is the second step we did, which was basically implementing TR69 somehow. And we looked at different implementations, open source implementation, and finally we came up with GenieACS, which is an auto configuration server. And we also included this into our NMS Prime. So basically, if you know how to configure cable modems already, it's pretty much exactly the same. You also have a config file with variables and with templates and so on, and they will be automatically generated if you change them or if you add them for the first time. We will talk to the GenieACS server and set up these provisionings. And then once this modem is coming up and has this ACS server configured, it will talk to it, and then it will be automatically provisioned.
Yeah, and maybe one step back, if I want to use this, do I need to separately install GenieACS and Radius, or how will this work?
This is automatically, we set up new dependencies of our packages. So when you simply need to update your system, and then automatically all the dependency will be pulled in, and also the configuration will be automatically done. All your tariffs you have will automatically push into the RADIUS database.
So I guess this was quite hard work to do.
Yeah, but it worked out quite well.
Yeah, and if I want to install it new, then I just can type in yum install.
As usual, NMS Prime -- asterisk, and then you will get everything. And everything will start up right away, so should be a turnkey solution.
Yeah, cool. Maybe we should just head over a little bit towards our demo system. And like you said, there have been two major steps. And maybe you can just give a short introduction where I see the TR69 config files and where I see the interconnection with the contracts and the radius or the TR69. So maybe.
So maybe we start with the speed provisioning. We used to have, if you may remember, we used to have an entry called CMTS. This is now renamed because it's not only CMTS now, it's also the BNGs. And so now we call it, we renamed it to Net Gateways and Net GWs, as you can see here. And we set up one of them, as you can see on the next page, I guess. No.
Here was a BLS, I guess.
Here it is.
Okay.
Our development router. It's a small ubiquity router, which is able to terminate PPPoE sessions. And as you can see here, this is it's of type, not of type CMTS, but of type BRAS. And here you can see the hostname and the IP address, of course. And then we also need to set up the credentials so that the BRAS is actually able to communicate to our FreeRADIUS server.
So what means NAS?
NAS is the good question. I have to figure this one out. I think it's network. I'm not sure. Access system or something like this.
But what is it meaning?
This is basically, these are the systems which connect to the FreeRADIUS server.
Okay.
And only they are allowed to connect to them. And here you can see basically the credentials. So this is the credential the BRAS need to be set up in order to be able to communicate with the FreeRADIUS server.
Okay.
And then, of course, we need an IP pool. And so if you created TR69 or a device which is talking PPPoE to our server, then of course it will get automatically an IP address from this pool. And of course, again, you can set both a private and a public IP address, and depending on what you set, you will get an IP address from the correct pool.
But I don't need to add a modem pool or...
No, because with TR69 you only have CPEs. You don't have a mixture of CM, CPE, MTA, as you know from DOCSIS. So it's all included in one dock.
And so after I've done this, then I guess I need to configure the BRAS, but we will not...
I guess we'll go into detail later on in the next video.
And also in the documentation.
Yeah. So maybe I show the config file next.
Yeah, the config files, okay. So this is for speed or for
this is the speed, exactly.
Speed and pools.
And just the normal stuff. The billing from the product list, you get your QoS stuff right away. This is attached to the contract and automatically populated.
So this is quite cool because then we can abstract for the user the type of provisioning, if it's PPPoE or if it's DOCSIS.
Right.
So it's you do not get in you do not see it. It's abstracted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was our plan, our goal.
Yeah.
And so maybe we go to as you may or may know, we have cable modem and MTA. We used to have cable modem MTA config files. Now we added a new one, which is TR69. Let's maybe jump into this one because it's a bit bigger. And here you can see now the configurations. First off, you set TR69, of course. And then here you basically see our syntax of how to set up the values. For example, here you would say that you want to periodically inform the TR69 server. And these are basically just the normal options which you should be familiar with if you are using TR69. And you can also see that here we can use our variables as before with the normal cable modems and MTA config files. And yeah, for example, in this case here, we add a new PPPoE interface. So you can not only set already existing values, but you can also add new devices or connections like this.
Yeah, cool.
And so all in all this together now, if you now create a new modem, or maybe we just simply have a look at one which is already existing.
So this means if I have TR69 devices, they will be also listed within the
yes, in the modem
page. So it's extracted if it's DOCSIS or TR69.
Exactly, it doesn't matter. Right. Also the monitoring and also if to see if it's green, it's red, it's exactly the same.
Same logic behind it.
Right, and here you can see that, for example, for this, or no, maybe we take, it doesn't matter.
So this is directly connected with our test, within our test lab.
Yes, we have 2 devices there running, and this is one of them. And you can see that instead of CM- for cable modem, we have PVP for PVPoE devices. Again, you have a MAC address, and the more important is the username and the password, which you can assign if you want to, but which can also be automatically assigned if you don't set it up.
So and how is it working when the device is booting now? Can you give an introduction about this? So how does it get these parameters, or do the customer needs to enter it?
Yes.
Or how is
This depends how you want it. In the most broad term, or in the most broad term, what we expect usually, what the devices are doing is first a DHCP, and we set our DHCP server in this way that it automatically gives out information about the TR69 server, the ACS server. And so you don't actually need to configure anything as long as your device is doing DHCP on startup, and then it automatically gets the URL for the TR69 server, and then it will connect to our server. We will identify the device based on the serial number, which you need to supply as well if you want to do configuration via TR69. And then we will push the information which were in the config file. We'll push this on the device. Then, in this case, if you will look back to the config file for our F60 device, for example, you will see that we are creating a new PVPoE interface, and here you can also see the username and the password. So this is automatically configured and pushed into the device when it first comes up. And then we also say in the last options we say, okay, please disable the normal IP connection now. So when the device comes up next time, or it usually reboots, and when it comes up, and then DHCP is not going on anymore, and now only PVPoE is starting, and then it's connecting to the TR69 again and says, okay, now I'm here with a new IP address, and now I'm doing PVPoE. So ideally, and if the devices enable this or are able to be configured PVPoE, this works all automatic.
Yeah, cool. And
also the monitoring, maybe. The monitoring we did so far is quite simple, and this can also be. We said, okay, we don't want to set this in stone right now. We want the customer to say what he wants to monitor, and so he's also able to, in the very, very first line, he can say what kind of infos he wants to display during.
And like I know, it's that within the next release, we will also try to achieve some drag and drop style that you can monitor, or that you can choose your monitoring values out of the TR69 tree. I guess this is also what we are working on right now, and which will be available within one of the next releases. Yeah, quite cool. I guess there are a lot of questions about this, but like I said, we want to jump into detail in a separate video. Thanks so far. So yes, and one of the next big feature requests within the next release was the Overdue Dept. What is the motivation, and what is the Overdue Dept about, Nino?
Yeah, it was actually one important feature request of our German customers, and is actually mostly designed for the German customers. And during the settlement run, the settlement run creates a lot of payments, and especially the support team needs to have an overview which one has paid and which one has some open debts or outstanding payments. Especially if you have some customers that usually don't pay multiple times, and you need to know if you have to, like in Germany, it's usual to cut off the internet if someone doesn't pay like 3 times in a row. To make them pay. And here you have a list of open debts that the customers owe the ISP, and that's helpful for the support team.
Here, for example, we see that Thorsten Schmidt does not pay his internet flat rate. And yes, like I guess I will also see it inside the contracts page. So if we search for Thorsten, we should probably see that
exactly, yeah,
he is not paying his internet.
Like always, you have some panels. You have if you click the billing tab, you have the history. Here's actually,
I guess multiple Thorsten Schmidts. I'm not quite sure. So maybe I checked the wrong one.
Yeah, you will see the history in the billing tab, and in the main edit tab, you have just the total amount.
The total amount. Yeah, that's quite a cool feature, and I guess that's all we need to address within this video. Like I said, there will be more videos about each major module which we were talking about. Maybe one question about the FTTH implementation towards Ole is, will this concept also work for DSL networks, for Wi-Fi, or will it only work for active Ethernet? Or maybe you can talk a little bit about this.
So for now, as the first step, we decided to only concentrate on active Ethernet, and we also in our data centers, as you saw in our demo system, we actually have two devices which are connected via active Ethernet to our switch, and they work perfectly fine. And this is actually also, you can use this in a productive environment. And we actually have two customers who want to try this out now that the new version is coming up or is actually released, and they want to try it out. One actually doing active Ethernet with normal switches, and another one with fiber links, with microwave links. And so, this is productive, as I said. With DSL and GPON, we're still investigating, but we are pretty sure this works as well. I mean, once we have an IP link between the device or some kind of Ethernet link we have between the device and the head end, it should work fine. It could happen that maybe for some GPON devices or DSL devices, you may have to configure some options on the command line. So in order to set up the Ethernet link between the CPE and the head end, we'll investigate this, but I'm pretty confident that we are going to address this.
Yeah. I mean, what is also maybe interesting for the viewer is, could the viewer support us maybe regarding this implementation?
Yes. So we're always looking for new GPON devices or some setups where we can try deploying our software and see if it works. Also with the different combinations of GPONs and as an old OLT or news and so on. This would be quite nice.
Good. So, but from the basic concept, like I understand, it will be vendor and technology independent, but on a more detailed level, we need to jump towards the devices and have a closer look regarding configuration. So like I heard, sometimes there are some ugly things, like you have to first establish the link connection at the OLT, or these are the topics which is important, that we are getting in contact with a lot of different devices. And we had also internal discussions. Maybe one solution to address this topic will be some kind of that you can add command line options also towards NMS Prime. I know this sounds always ugly also to me.
We try to avoid it, but if we have to,
that will be the worst case implementation if we see there are a lot of vendors who do not really try to be technology agnostic regarding provisioning. That these will be a cool workaround, well, not a cool workaround, it will be a workaround, but like you said, we are all very confident that with one of these implementations, we will achieve.
The most important thing is that the device needs to support PPPoE and TR69 configuration. Once they do this, I'm pretty confident. I mean, because some OLTs, they actually provision this via the command line, all the, for example, telephony stuff. And we want to avoid this. We want to configure as little as possible on the OLT. and push as much as we can via TR69 to the device.
Yeah. So also the concept is that the OLT has some kind of basic configuration, so that you do not need to do separate link topics or address this link is with this speed or something like this. This is completely tried to be avoided. And what this concept is also very cool is that if an OLT crashes or you need to replace it with another vendor, then you don't need to have you only need some kind of basic backup configuration of the device. And then you can simply exchange stuff. So if I address at each link different speeds and configure everything within the OLT, then I always need to be sure that I back up my entire configuration in case the OLT crashes, or if I want to replace it with another vendor, then I always getting into trouble, and
you have to convert this somehow, and it's always getting, especially also with different firmware options. Maybe you get a new firmware and a lot of options change or something like this, and we try to avoid all of this because the main logic is in NMS Prime and in our provision. So that's quite cool. And within NMS Prime, of course, if the network is bigger, then it will be redundant. So it's just normal SQL. You can back up it on multiple databases. And maybe this is also important to note here that we've done a lot of investigations regarding failover system. So there's actually SQL failover available right now. If you are a bigger ISP, and there will be a lot of more topics within this, especially regarding the services like the HCP, bind DNS server. They will be fully redundant within one of the next releases. We are testing this within our lab actually. And I think we've talked a lot about version 2.5. Like I said in the beginning of the video, if you want to have more details about the smaller topics within it, then just head over to our release note page. And then I guess if I do not miss anything, I would like to thank Nino and Ola. And that's it. And thanks for watching again. And we will see you on the next video. I guess within the next weeks, there will be the NMS Prime conference going open, so you can register for it. It will be hosted again in Chemnitz, so stay tuned and don't miss this event. We will talk within the conference a lot about all the topics which we were addressing here. So there will be a slot also for the FTTH or the TR69 topic. So also again some kind of workshop formats about the major topics we aiming today. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned on our channel. If you did not subscribe so far, then do it and give us a thumb up if you like the content. Thanks for watching. Bye.